Hi, and welcome to the Tea on Realty with Rachel. I'm your host, Rachel Jackson, a broker associate with Exit Real Estate Gallery. Hope everyone had a great week last week since our last episode. So I'm going to get right into it. This week's episode with what the Tea on Realty is all about. So this week, the topic I'm going to be talking about is about a seller who panics, because I think almost all of us realtors have had that incident where a seller has panicked during either in the middle of a transaction or even in the process before a transaction even gets listed. You're in the listing stages and you still have that seller who panics. So that's what this is about. And so, like I said today, every now and then, and on most of all the podcasts that I do, it's about true testimony, either about things that I myself have been through and that things have happened to me during the course of real estate, or it's about co-workers of mine that has happened to. So this particular one about a seller who kind of panicked is a true testimony, and it was about my own self. So I had a customer one time, and she wanted me to list her home for sale. So initially, I was like, "Oh, glad you asked," because I actually helped her purchase that home maybe like 2 years prior. So I was glad that she had, reached out to me to try and help sell her home again, because they wanted to upgrade. They wanted to have some kids and, do some things with family upgrading and, upgrade with her business and everything like that. So of course I'm very excited. My whole platform with me selling real estate is based off of referrals and repeating customers. That's where we get the base of our bulk from. So of course I always love the opportunity to work with a previous customer, and that nature. And I've seen them over the last years, and things like that. So I've seen, I went to the house. I've seen they made, a lot of upgrades. Some of them that wasn't needed. Some of them just out of that's just when they bought the home, they made the home to the specifics of what they wanted. Because when you buy a home, your intentions, especially if you're a young couple, is that's where you're going to be for the rest of your life. So you do a lot of adjustments to the home to suit you, and that's perfectly fine. So the house definitely was kept up to par. It was totally nice. It was beautiful, everything. So prior to listing, I would say even before listing the home, we had been in communication for like almost 6 to 8 months before we actually got this home listed on the market, just talking about things that they were going to be having done to the house as far as roof that they were repairing from a previous storm. So there were some things that they knew that they needed to get done, they were going to get done. And so it wasn't like a huge rush to move, but we were just always in connection as far as what we were going to do and how they wanted to play out moving forward with the property. So we finally got that possible. We came over. She was like, "I'm ready to list it." All those things came out. So I gave her some, I always like to give, before I list the property, maybe suggest that the seller do it like I do it, maybe a CMA of what's been sold in the neighborhood, and refer them to maybe some pre-listing appraisals so they can get a real general gist of what you really should be listing this property as, based upon what you may have done to it, or if you may not, because you might be in a neighborhood where you didn't need to really make so many upgrades because nobody else in the neighborhood made any upgrades, and the house still sold at a pretty good price. So that's why you get a professional involved, so we could tell you those things. Of course, this customer did not use any of those suggestions as far as getting any pre-appraisal done. Pretty much they wanted to use, I even sent them some information for some photographers, and they chose not to use any of the photographers. So that was just some things that when you're listening with a person, that should be some things that they should recommend that you do and you use. And I always recommend those things: professional photographers and pre-listing appraisals, to kind of give you a suggestion on what you want to do before you go live. Like I said, this is the true testimony. So the customer didn't do any of those things throughout the process. So we were going back and forth about what they wanted the price to be for their home. Of course, they had in their mind, we was going through this for several months. And I say back and forth, I don't mean arguing back and forth. I mean just they want to go this. I'm like, I'm trying to advise you to stay here. If you want to get this, you kind of, think of when you purchase, when you wanted, this is what you wanted. I know you're on the other side of that transaction now, so you definitely want all the perks that you can get as the seller at this point. So just all those things and topics of concerns, that a customer that come up that, you suggest to them. So you come up with the final price that they want to list it for. And went over with them in great detail. I went over with them in great detail, the good and the bad. And the customer decided, to list their home at the price they thought their home was worth. Of course, everyone feels like their home is worth $1 million. That's just, I feel my home worth $1 million. I want $1 million for it, and that's period. You're not going to get me to go down any lower. So, with that being said, of course, they're going off of what Trillo said and what Zupia said. So they have all these different avenues that they're pulling information for, and they're not, I would say, listening to everything that you would have to say. So when I talking to them, these are the things that we did discuss prior to listing. So we did list at where they wanted, and at the end of the day, the customer is the boss. So whatever they want, that's what we got to do. Our customer is the boss. That's just how it is. I mean, we working for them at the end of the day. But as a realtor, our goal is to get listings. The more listings that we know, and we'll always have something coming up in order to have listings succeed. You have to have customers who are willing to take heed to your information and your advice and use it, so that way they can sell their house the best way possible. So when you get somebody that's listening to your professional opinion, it's always good to know that. So if I know a customer's, home is not worth an amount that they want it to be listed at, and I show them and I tell them all kind of different avenues on that it's not going to be possible, I will walk away from that type of listing. And so if they choose and they tell me that they want to list their house for $30,000 or $40,000 over what I know was standing for the market at that time, I won't even take that listing. And I think with this particular listing, it started out where they were wanting to be $30,000, $40,000 over, and we kind of brought that down. I think told her what was being sold, what's in the area, and they kind of came to a good consensus on where they wanted to be. They still wanted me to list it a little bit over, and I don't mind going a little over, because if you go a little over, then when you get your offer in, your offer is either going to be a little lower, and it'll be closer to probably what it's more worth and what you really wanted to get at the end of the day anyways. But as a realtor, it is my reputation and a lot of things on the line when I list a property. So if it's a property that I know is not worth $40,000 over market value, then I won't even waste my time, my reputation, trying to list this property. So I want to be that realtor that lists a property because I know it's going to get sold. And I knew this particular property was going to get sold, and it was going to go rather quickly. You know what I'm saying? It was really nice what it had done to it. Okay, so the pictures are done, agreement is all done, and signed, the property is out there on the market, it's sit down and we discuss all the time frames for showings. The customers is working, and they work from home. So we know a lot of people work from home. We understand that. So we went over and discussed details about, the showings. And initially we set the showings between, 10 and 4. And then I totally understood, what it's like to work from home and everything, like I said. So also, and then on Saturdays, we kind of set it up to where they would do no showings between 10 and 5. Now, when you want to list a house, showings are the biggest thing. And on a Saturday, if we list a house on a weekday, which is the best day to list get your house on the market on Wednesday or Thursday, and someone wants to do a showing on a Saturday, that's a big day. But initially, this customer wanted to block out Saturdays, like no showings between 10 and 5 on Saturdays. So that was just one of the holdups that I kind of went through with listing this particular property. A red flag, I should say, and I spoke about this on another, and I said customers should see red flags. realtors to see red flags. Because when a customer says they can't do no showings on weekdays between 10 to 4, and then on Saturday you can't do no showings between 10 to 4, 10 to 5, when the heck can somebody see your house? When? So, but this was a friend. Oh, I thought they were a friend. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna see how this works. So the property goes live on a Wednesday. I get several showing requests for this property. I mean, several showing requests from a lot of agents and their customers that want to see the property. I mean, like I said, I knew that this property was not going to have any problem selling. I did not have any problem selling. Like I said, they didn't want to use any professional photos that I had recommended to them. They wanted to use their own, which their own were fine because they actually used to be a photographer. They used to take pictures. So the pictures weren't bad. And obviously the pictures were really enough and showing enough that it did pull in enough people that wanted me to set up a showing for the house. So this is where the problems come in. This is where a seller, kind of panics. It's on the house. It's the the house goes live on a Wednesday. I get people that want to see the house Thursday. I got people that want to see the house Friday. I got people that want to see the house Saturday, Sunday. Literally, I'm putting in the request where people can't see the house before 5 o'clock. That's fine. They see where they can only see the house after 5, so they make a request to see the house at 6 because that's what you have available, right? So we get to a customer. They say, okay, I want to see the house at 6:30. That's fine. You call the customer because they live at home, work from home. Be like, hey, I got a showing request. They want to see the house at 6:30. You said after 5 o'clock. Oh no. Can they come at 7:30? Second red flag. Because we already had this conversation as far as the time frames and how it was going to be very difficult to get people to view this home for you while you're still living there, and because of how your work schedule is. And so they didn't make the accommodations like they did. And literally every time I had a showing request, the owner would come back and like it was almost like they were countering the showings. Like if the customer came in during their time that they were available and said they wanted to see the property, if the customer said 5:30, they said, oh, they could come at 6:30. If the customer said they want to see the house at 6:30, could they come at 7:15? It was always that kind of going back and forth. And like I said, this is a discussion that we had in the beginning about you have to make this home available. It's very limited. Then they began to do things like I said, initially the showings were no showings on Saturdays from 10 to 5 because that's when they had most of their business at home. I get that. Then, at random, they would come and say, okay, I could do showings from 10 to 12. And then, and what they don't understand is the showing assist system is not set up to do sporadic showing. It's not set up to where I can go in and say, okay, no showing on this time, no showing. We can't do that. So either you're going to allow your house to be available, or we're going to talk about what we talked about in the beginning was maybe you should wait until you move into until your other location where you're not home during the day, so the house can be available all day. But the person, like I said, they were panicking. They were in a rush. They wanted to sell their home. They wanted to move into another home. Whatever the reasoning, that they were such in a rush, they did not take heed to any of the advice that I had given them prior to listing their home. The advice that I had been going over with them for months. They just wasn't listening. So initially, almost every time we got a showing, like I said, they were trying to change it, or they were changing the hours. Oh, I can show it this time. And then if I was able to go into the showing assistant and say, okay, we're going to open up Saturday from 12 to 1, they don't get no showing. I say, well, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, everyone's already looked at the information as far as when the home was available to see. Ain't nobody going on there every single day to check and see. They already done look for the week and say, oh, hey, this home ain't available on no time on Saturday, so we gonna move on to the next home. It don't work. It doesn't. The people, realtors and their customers don't get a ding that says, oh, wait a minute, it's available to show this house, so can we schedule? It don't work like that. So when I say, you got to listen to the people who's, helping you. You got to listen to the professionals. You got to listen to us, man, because we are trying to help you. I'm trying to help the lady sell her house. I knew her house was going to sell no matter what. So, with all those red flags that I tell customers to look out for, I should have looked out for all those red flags before I listed this property. So, we finally, I guess, she finally thought about what she was doing and, how she wanted to do. So, I think she, eventually was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna have to move out, and so that I can be able to have my home available and do stuff like that. So it was. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. It was like hell. It was like the listing, almost the listing from hell, in a sense, because of the way the changes of the customer kept going through, and they don't understand. Like I said, that things don't work like that. You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. You have, if you want to sell your home, you have to make your home available for people to see it. You can't, just constantly change things around, and then you're frustrated because they don't want to change around what you've already given them a minimum amount of time that they can look at it, and then you're trying to wheel them and deal them out of that little bit of time and inconvenience them to come to a house at 8 or 9 o'clock. I don't even want to go. I won't even show a house at 8 o'clock at night. I'm sorry, I'm scared of the dark. So I just want to do that. So they're still kind of watching what's going on the websites. They're watching what's going on, and why nobody ain't making an offer? Why nobody's making an offer? Because you're freaking not letting anybody see the house. That's why you're not that's why you're not getting no offer, because no one can see the house. And the people that have made the accommodations with what you're doing, and like I said, there were some things that I had suggested that they do before they listed it that they just didn't do. And so that kind of played a part into a lot of things in them. So now they want to halt everything. Well, let's take it, just put it down off the market right quick so I can do this and do that. Do some of the things that I suggested to do before we listed that they didn't want to do. And, just a lot of other things that just wasn't happening. And I said, when I say I speak to T on Realty, I'm honest with you guys. So this particular customer was talking with another agent, announced to me, which I don't care. This is a competitive business. There's enough business out here for everybody. And so, they're coming back asking about some pictures or things like that. And, I'm like, as a realtor, I do pay for professional photos, but not for every listing. Most realtors out here will kind of say, I guess if they bid time, they'll probably pay for all pictures. But, for me and how I'm set up too is I have an awesome camera. And if the home is not over a certain price range for me, then it wouldn't see fit for me to pay $200-300 for pictures for a home that's $60,000 or $80,000 on the market. I'm just being real. I'm not gonna pay nobody no $200 technical professional photos of that type of caliber of a home. Not saying that this home was, but it wasn't in the price range for me to invest $200 to $300 for photos. But it wasn't, I don't think it's about the photos. I just think sometimes it's just about the customer, and they just wanted to go another avenue. So with that being said, I am like a person that, if I don't want to deal with somebody, I cut them loose. And I feel like the same should do for me. And so we parted ways, because like I said, I had come into contact that they were talking with other agents. Wow, which is not a good thing to do if you are under contract with somebody, to be talking with another agent. And if you are an agent and someone's under contract with somebody, you shouldn't be talking with them while they're under an agreement with somebody else. So I have no problems. Hey, you can sign over this thing. We ain't got to work together no more. And so I would say not even a couple of days later, the house was back on the market again. It had some more photos taken, which, like I said, I had suggested these photos in the beginning, but I think she was making a big deal because I didn't want to pay for them, and I just wasn't going to do that. But in the beginning, I never said that I wasn't pay for the photos, but I did refer her to some professionals on that manner. And one of the repairs that I had suggested that she do to the home, she did. But she wouldn't do it when I told her to do it. And she didn't take heed to the photos like I told her to do. And she not only, at this point with the new listing, she was no longer working from home. She had moved outside of the home, which was one of the suggestions that we had talked about prior to listing, was maybe you should wait till you actually, move your home business outside of the home. That way the home can be available. So there was like 3 things in this whole entire scenario with the customer who panics because they're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, that I had red flags on. The photos was in the beginning. That was a red flag for me. That was a ding on my part. 2, there was a red flag when the showing information was wrong, because from the time that I had no longer had this listed until the time it was listed with somebody, those 3 things: photos, time and availability of the house being able to be shown, and the price that we had initially said that I had suggested that we listed as. That's what it was listed as with this other agent. But with me, they wanted to go above that, what I suggested. They didn't want to use any professional photos that I had suggested. And they didn't want to listen and take heed to my expressing concerns about the showings and the times that should have been done, and that was availability that should have been done inside the home. So the home got sold. Thank God it got sold. I'm not a hater. I'm disappointed in the way that the customer did this. Now, like I said, when I talk about telling realty, I talk about bad things customers do. I talk about bad things that a realtor's going to do, and bad situation that I have come apart in. And I said, when I talk about these things, some of them is happened to me, which this actually happened to me, and then some of them happened to my colleagues when we're talking. And I always ask them, can I, use you as an instance if I need to? And they have no problem with that. But this was just something that happened to me in real estate where, it's not all about sometimes losing and, oh, you lost the transaction. I don't care about a transaction sometimes. It's because I'm in it to make money. But at the same time, I want my peace. And if my peace with you is you going with another realtor and you do everything that I suggested you do, that you didn't do, but then you do that with another realtor, that means that at some point anyways, that's where you wanted to go, and you should have just been honest and went that way. Why you did it the way you did, why you was doing the sneak back, going back to, but what they, didn't realize was that, and I don't even know, she might know, I still got paid for the transaction. She still paid me. That just was one of the cool points about that. I still made money off the transaction, even though she didn't use me, because it was just the way that she went about doing things. And that's why I tell sometimes sellers, you got to be careful, and buyers, when you're under contract with an agent, especially if you're under a buyer's agreement. Some agents have customer signed buyer's agreements that's saying that you're going to work with this particular agent to help you buy a home. And if you don't read that contract that you signed, you could end up paying that agent even if they don't find you, if you don't close them, because maybe they showed you a home already in the last 6 months, and then you double back for whatever reason, y'all might have fell off, and then you double back to one of those homes that they showed you, and you put an offer in on that home, and then you get that home, and then that person's like, oh, because we do research. I ain't gonna lie, if I show somebody that property and we didn't get it, and then 9 times out of 10, I don't really have this happen too many times to me, or have happened to me many times, because 9 times out of 10, if I'm starting working with a customer as a buyer, I'm pretty much there to the end. But I do know that this can happen, and if you could get sued, and you be like, well, I gotta pay them. They ain't helped me go, but they already showed you the house in the last 6 months, and you remember you signed this contract saying that you was only gonna work with them, and that if you did purchase a home, that they showed you in the last 6 months, that you was gonna pay them their commission because they did show that home to you first. It's good to know the contract. And it's the same with a seller. If you under a seller's agreement and a seller negotiates with another agent and everything like that, they could still be liable as a seller to have to pay you a commission. It might don't work like that all the time, and it's just certain circumstances where it would. This particular circumstance was where it actually was an agent in my brokerage, and my brokerage was so awesome with how they handled with me and the other agent and the customer, and it was just like they couldn't believe it. Like, they could believe it because it's real estate and it can happen. So like I said, that was just a true story and a testimony that I had as far as what I say as a customer who panics, and a customer who I would say sometimes you want to work with a person, and because even with myself, I want to work with certain people with certain things, but then again I don't. And I've learned in my life that I need to be honest, and I need to just say, listen, I'm gonna go on this path. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to lead you on. You know what I'm saying? You're really nice. I want to save our friendship. I want to be cool with you, but I know that this is the route I want to go. And I just feel like, as a realtor and as a person, that's what I say to people. And I would like it if customers would do the same, but some customers just don't. And I feel like if you were my friend, you should be able to come to me and be like, hey, girl, you helped me buy this house, you helped me sell this house, but I just whatever. Or guess what? You don't have to owe me no explanation. Just go use who you want to use. Don't get me involved and then go use somebody you want to use. That's not good, because that could ruin a friendship. And if I'm a friend of yours, I want to continue to be your friend. So with that being said, like I said, that was a true testimony for me in real estate. And I'm always looking to share my testimonies with you guys. So you know that it's like I always say, it's real out here in these streets and the world of real estate. And when I say that stuff happens that's good, there's some horrible stuff that can happen to us out here. I mean, we work off commission. And a lot of the times people don't realize and don't understand that, what we do out here is just because we show you a house, we don't get paid for showing you a house. We don't get paid for that. We don't get paid until that house is sold or that house has been bought. And if we were in it if we were getting paid just for showing houses, we'll really be in some money. We'll show a house to people. I'll be showing a house every day, every minute, if that's how it works. But we genuinely, truly want you guys to get the house that you want. We genuinely want you guys to sell the house that you have. And we want you to get the highest, if not above, the price that you want for that house. That's what I'm here for. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Continue to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and all my other social media platforms. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on the website, www.thetonrealty.org, or if there's a topic or a subject that you want me to talk about, email me at info@thetonrealty.org. I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in and listening. I so appreciate everyone that shares my content, everyone that continues to follow me, everyone that believes in what I'm doing and what I'm saying. And if I know it, I'm going to tell it. If I don't know it, I ain't going to tell it. I just got to tell you, I'm just going to be real with you. That's just how it is. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. Bye. Have a good night. Have a good week. I don't know if there's a holiday coming up or a holiday's coming up, but I just want you guys to just have some kind of fun with your immediate family, because I know things are still going out here in this world with COVID. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Bye.